Hey guys, it's Michael, and today I'm here to do my September wrap-up. So these are the books I read in September. I've only read 4 books, and that's because the first half of the month was basically taken up by The Stand by Stephen King, but I still included that in my August. But anyways, so yeah, let's talk about the books I read in September. The first book that I read is The Tiger's Wife by Tia Albrecht. And this book is about this girl named Natalia who, and it switches back and forth between her and then her grandpa's stories, and then a whole bunch of different perspectives. The best thing about this book is the writing. The writing is incredible. It is really, how do I say it? It's really meticulous, I guess is the right word. More like the words are chosen really thoughtfully, and it seems really constrained. The word choice is just really nice, and that's what I love about this. The thing that I had a problem with this was that there are a whole bunch of different stories, and they all converge around Natalia and her grandpa, essentially. The thing though is, if this book were short stories, I think it would have been better because I enjoyed each story separately and I really liked that. One story was about this, how her grandpa met this guy who couldn't die, who was immortal, the Deathless Man, and that story was really interesting. But then also the Hunter story was really good, and then the one about his wife was really good. So each story on its own I really liked, but then I didn't feel as though it was cohesive enough. But then at the same time, I guess you could argue that because it was cohesive because everything was connected through her grandpa and her. But I really, I didn't know. I felt conflicted when I was rating this book because I like it in the sense the writing is really nice and the separate stories are really good, but I wish they were combined a little bit better, but it's still a great book. I really liked it. I gave this 3.5 on Goodreads. The next book that I read is The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison. This is actually my first Toni Morrison book. I've never read one of her novels before, and I decided I wanted to read one. It was awesome! This book is about this young girl named Pocola who wants to basically be white and have really blue eyes because she feels that if you have blue eyes then you will be treated differently and your world will be different. What I love about this was, first off, the writing was really, really, really good. I loved it. She wrote in this like poetry style, like it had a poetic undertone to it and I really loved. As you can tell, I tabbed a lot of quotes from here. I just really, really liked it. I love the character development, which was really nice because you get to see everyone around Pocola and the different type of characters that they were. I really liked that, and it was just really good. I just really liked it. I recommend this book. So yeah, I gave this 4 stars out of 5 on Goodreads. The next book that I read is The Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger. This is actually a reread for me. I read this way back in high school the first time, and this is one of my favorite books, but I'm gonna tell you now, reading it as an adult versus when I was reading it as a teenager is completely different. It's a different vibe, I guess you could say, but I still really like it. I think it's still one of my favorite books, just because it gets that vibe, that anger, that angstiness that teenagers go through. And I felt like I read it at the right time in my life. It was one of those books where you read it at the right time and it just really stuck with you, and I felt like it did that when I was in high school when I first read it. And now as an adult, it's kind of whiny almost. Like sometimes I felt like, in case you don't know, this book is about a boy named Holden Caulfield. He's just very pretentious. He views the world like there's certain people that are phonies, but then at the same time he still has this heart about people, like with the nuns that he meets, and with his sister that he still really loves. And I still think to this day, what I enjoy about it is that he reminds me of me, like a lot about me, and I think that's why I still really enjoy this book, even though I know that he's kind of whiny as a teenager, but I still really love it. I know this is one of those books where you either love it or you hate it, and I feel like I'm more on the love it side, but if you haven't read this, I think you should. It's one of those books. So yeah. The next book that I read is colorless. The next book that I read is colorless Tsukuru Tazaki and His Years of Pilgrimage by Haruki Murakami. Like I said in my book haul, this is my first Murakami book, and I really enjoyed it. I really like this book. The thing though is, I did see other reviewers, and they did say that this is his weakest, and it's not the best of his novels. And in my head I'm thinking, if this is his weakest, this other one must be really good, because I really enjoyed this book. This book is about Tazaki, who's a train inspector, I guess you could say, train worker. He works for a train company in Japan, and it goes back and forth between the present time and the past about what happened to his friends, and that's why his name is colorless, because all his friends have names indicating color. So that's why this scheme right here of red, blue, white, and black is important, is because each of that is basically their his friends' names, and something happens and he flashes back and forth, and he tries to basically find out why this thing happened and how he was involved in it. I really liked it. It has this tone of almost like sadness, maybe more like melancholy. Yeah, it has like this tone of melancholy, and I just really liked it. The writing is really interesting, but I felt during some parts that a little bit more editing would have been improved, because there's a subplot line with one of his friends, one of his friends, and it just leaves off in like this weird, it felt incomplete almost. Like I was like, oh, okay, that happened. So yeah, I'm excited to read his other books, but I really enjoyed this. It's just, I felt like more editing would have been helpful. I don't know if his other books are just like this, but I felt like that a little bit more constraint on the plot would have been, like just a tighter plot would have been better. Some stuff could have been left out. I just thought, or maybe I missed the point. I don't know. There was this thing with it had this magical, it kind of ventured into the magical realism, and I thought it was awkward. Or maybe that's just his writing, I don't know, because I don't really know a lot of his work, but I'll read his other ones. So yeah, there's that. Yeah, those are the 4 books that I read in September. I didn't read that much, but if you read any of them, let me know, and tell me what you think about them. And until then, I'll see you guys next time. Bye!